guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about some of the different summer camps I went to growing up and why I think going to summer camps as someone with a disability, I'm going to focus on the disability related camps that I went to. I also went to several different church camps growing up, which I learned a lot from and thought were amazing. If anyone wants me to talk more about those and my specific experiences with those, feel free to let me know, and I will do a separate video about that down the road if there's interest. But today I want to focus on disability related summer camps and why I think that it's important, if your child has a disability, for them to go to other summer camps for kids like them, so that way they can learn that they're not alone. A lot of people ask me, like, why do you love summer camps? Why do you always try to go if you can? And for me, it's always been, I love meeting other people with various disabilities and things of, like, who are blind or who have other physical disabilities like me, so that way we can, learn from each other's struggles, because that has been one of the biggest things for me, is just seeing that I'm not alone and seeing that there is other people my age who go through the same kind of things I do. So for me, that was very helpful to realize, growing up especially, that I wasn't the only blind person having a hard time with, say chemistry in high school. I know that's a dumb example, but I had a really hard time with chemistry or any other just simple thing that people didn't seem to have as much trouble with outside of the disability community. To be able to talk to, text my friends I'd met at these various summer camps and be like, yo, I'm really having a hard time with XYZ. What did you do to get through this? So that was really awesome, to just be able to text other blind people and be able to say, like, hey, I'm having a really hard time with, we're going to go with my example of chemistry. I'm having a really hard time following chemistry right now. What did y'all do when y'all had to take 11th grade chemistry to kind of get through it? And just to kind of have those people who have done other similar things to you before you, to kind of just be like, hey, how did you get through this? Or just to have other people who understand what you're going through and can kind of be that shoulder to kind of cry on or talk to, and just, it's not going your way. Or even if it is, if there's something that's a big deal to you that you have succeeded in, just have other people to understand why that was such a big deal. And so yeah, that's why I feel like meeting or going to other summer camps and meeting people with similar disabilities to you is really important. And we're going to talk about a couple of the summer camps I went to for the blind, or one of them is for, two of them are specifically for the blind, and one of them is for kids with different more general with different disabilities, but that I really feel like I grew a lot at. And so I'd say for the camp I went to the longest was probably a summer camp at the Louisiana School for the Visually Impaired in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They have different, I think they split it up based on your grade, or I know they've changed it up in recent years, but that's what it was when I went there. I think they start at first, I think when you finished first grade, that's what it used to be, I don't know, until the summer between your 11th and 12th grade year, and they split it up based on grade, like what grade level you're in. And we used to do things like scuba diving, which they don't do anymore, I don't think. Just we would go bowling, do different things to just have different experiences and work on cane travel. And that's a good camp for kids who are blind in the Louisiana. If you're in the state of Louisiana and in kind of that age gap, because I have met, honestly, some of my best friends that I still talk to this day, two especially that I still talk to, and I met countless other blind people that I've learned a lot from, even though that we're not close. That was just where I met a big bulk of my blind friends, especially local blind friends. So even if you're not from Louisiana, you should look into see if your school for the blind has a outreach kind of summer program, so that way if you're blind or if you have kids who are blind, you can meet other people, which is really awesome and really cool, and I learned a lot of things along the way. So yeah, the second camp, which I really enjoyed going to, I went to as a camper for one summer, and I worked there for one summer. It is the Summer Experience Camp at Leader Dogs for the Blind in Rochester Hills, Michigan. I believe it's either in Rochester or Rochester Hills, which are right next to each other in Michigan. But Leader Dogs for the Blind provided me an awesome experience. Their Summer Experience Camp is a 1-week camp for 16 and 17-year-olds. I went there when I was 17, and we did things like beep kickball, tandem biking. We went to a local fire station one day, and got to try on some of the gear. We got to ride in a fire truck. They have the bucket that they use. I think it's the basket or bucket that they use for rescues and stuff, that we kind of got to ride up in, which was really cool. That was cool. But my favorite part, or two of my favorite parts from that week, is that they accept people from all across the United States and Canada. So you get to meet all kinds of different people from all over the country and Canada. So it was just cool for me to be able to meet other blind people, not just from Louisiana, but meet other blind people from other places and get to hear their experiences, different things like that. So for me, that was really cool. And then also Dog Day. We all called it Dog Day. There was a day, the 2 years I went, it was on Thursday, where we got a one-on-one GDMI, our guide dog mobility instructor, and we got to work with a guide dog for a day. It was amazing. It helped me decide that one day when I'm stable and know what my life is more or less going to be like for sure, that I am going to apply for a guide dog. It answered a lot of my questions. It was just cool to kind of have that experience of working with a guide dog, have it being one-on-one with a guide dog mobility instructor and be able to kind of I guess pick their brains and get your questions answered. And when we rode on the bus from one of Leader Dog's buildings to their other building, you're on a bus with other GDMIs, so you can kind of ask them questions. So for me, it was really cool. And when I went and worked there the second summer, it was still awesome for me because I got to build on a lot of my leadership skills. It was hard. It was exhausting. But I do get to say I learned a lot about my personality type and what I can handle versus what I can't handle. So that was good. And then the last camp I want to talk about is for people. I'm just gonna explain what the camp is. It'll make more sense. The last camp is the Louisiana Lions Camp. I started going there in 2014. I'd say about a month before I turned 14. Yeah, I was 13. I went the last week of June, and I turned 14 in July. So probably about 3-4 weeks before I turned 13 or 14. This camp was for me amazing because the week I go is for kids with all kinds of different physical disabilities. So being able to meet kids in wheelchairs and people who use walkers and crutches and different stuff like that. So I really I knew people with other disabilities, but being able to hang out with them in a patrol, and you learn a lot about just what they go through, and you kind of form a sense of camaraderie, like you get to, I know I said that word wrong, I'm not good with words, don't come at me, but you kind of get to form this sense of understanding between everyone, and understand that, just because even though y'all have different disabilities, y'all go through a lot of the same struggles, and it's always a awesome growing experience for me. And unfortunately, last summer, no summer camps really happened because of COVID. So my last summer has been postponed until next summer, which I am excited for, hopeful for the future that camp can happen, but I'm also sad because it is my last summer, and I've really enjoyed the people that I've met, and it's just an awesome camp. They kind of split it up. You have 2 weeks for kids with different mental challenges, things like autism, Down syndrome, stuff like that. And then you have I go for a week, but then they have 2 separate weeks. It's separated based on where you live, where for kids who have different physical disabilities, blind, wheelchairs, deaf, I don't know the whole spectrum, but those are just a few examples. And then they have the last 2 weeks are for kids who are diabetic, and they hold different programs, I think, before the staff who helps out with us come for kids with respiratory disorders. And they have a camp after our staff leaves, I think, for kids who have childhood cancer. So I definitely think all 50 states, I could be wrong, have some, at least here in the United States, have some form of a Lions camp. Every state's age limits and things like that are different. I know for here in Louisiana, it's 8 to 19, but I think I'm going to be able to go for one more year when I'm 20, almost 21, just because of COVID. But every state is different. I know Texas, they age out at 18. I don't know, not 18, I mean 16. I don't know their starting age. I know some states don't have a age out limit, so I think just look into your state's I guess camp rules and see. But yeah, that's just kind of my experience with different summer camps, and I'm interested to hear about yours if you have a disability or have a kid with a disability, or if you don't and you've just been to general summer camp. Just what your summer camp experience was like. And people have asked me, like, can you volunteer or work at these various different summer camps for kids with disabilities and things like that? Just honestly Google it for your area and see what kind of comes up. If anyone has any questions about how you can volunteer in Louisiana, you can just Google it or let me know, and I will get you connected. To kind of depend on what you can do. Can see if I can help. And yeah, so I hope y'all watched this really long video. Like, share, and subscribe. I know it's another typical Emily Rambly video, but hope y'all enjoyed. Have a nice night. Bye.
16 minutes, 51, Zoom, 0%, Zoom, adjust, 16 minutes, stop recording video, button.